How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Game Over Ottawa. Coming at you live, January 26th edition. Ottawa Senators, big win tonight over the Utah Hockey Club in their first ever time hosting the Utahns in the nation's capital. My name is Nick Robinson, and I'm going to be hosting Game Over tonight. And I have the pleasure tonight of being joined by Anthony Carboni from the AJ Sports Podcast. Anthony, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Huge Sens win. After, they had a tough schedule, like 10 games in 16 days. So it was good for them to get the win before having a nice little break against the Capitals. Very excited to be on here. Appreciate the time. And yeah, let's talk Sens.
All right, man. Yeah, like you said, 10 games, 16 days, end of like a pretty gruesome stretch, and that's what they got that stretch after like their 9-game road trip over the holidays. Like I don't know who in the NHL office has had it out for the Sens and the making their December and January schedules, but you know what? The fact that they've got through it and they've managed to play as well as they did, pretty impressive stuff. So we're gonna talk about it. Obviously, the main thing we're going to talk about, though, is tonight's 3-1 win over the Utah Hockey Club. Before we get into any specifics, I just want to thank the title sponsor of Game Over Ottawa, which is Hyperdrive Hockey, because you can shift into Hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that'll drive debate, make you think, and more. So you can join Max Van Oots, Daphne Malboeuf, and Kevin Larmé every Monday and Thursday for your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube and on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Or you can head to our website, which is thegameovernetwork.com for more. That's all going to be in the links below. Again, thanks for joining us. All right, so Anthony, like you said, pretty impressive win from the Senators. We're going to go over each period, but lot of the same values in this win as there was in last night's win. And as you can tell from my voice, for anybody watching, I was in the building last night for the win against the Leafs in the Battle of Ontario, so I apologize for a bit of the scraggliness, but we'll fight through it here. Didn't get much time to celebrate last night's win, with a 5 p.m. puck drop the next day. It's the third week in a row the Senators have played on a Saturday and then on a Sunday. So, Anthony, fair to say, when the game started, the Senators looked like a tired team.
Yeah, I noticed that throughout the first period. They did not come out like very strong. They looked tired. A lot of the Utah coming off of a loss to the Jets on Friday. They have a day's rest on Saturday. They go into Sunday's game looking to get their first win in Ottawa. Yeah, like you said, they looked very, very tired. Brady Tkachuk did make his presence known after, not scoring in 10, 11 games, his goal drought was. And he made his presence known by taking out Kessering, taking out a bunch of these guys, making a bunch of hits, and, generating chances. It's a guy that, he wants to lead his team to the playoffs. They haven't made it in a long time. He's on a goal drought. So for him to send a message hitting people early was something that Ottawa Senators fans really, really enjoyed, and especially later in the game when they started chanting Brady, Brady,
Yeah.
Brady. So that was really impressive for the first period. But they ended the period at a 0-0 with a 0-0 score, killing a penalty in the process as well. So second half of a back-to-back is tough, playing against a good Utah Hockey Club team. So good for them to get out of the period without letting up a goal, especially on the PK.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like you said on Brady Tkachuk, it's one of those things. Again, everybody knows at this point like the kind of drought that he was on coming into this game, but it's I guess the upside with what you get with a player like Brady Tkachuk, because even when he doesn't score, he's gonna find ways to contribute, and his physical play is always the one thing that he does. He was a big time menace against the Maple Leafs last night. Again, like you said, he was trying to get his team going early, so that was really encouraging to see, and I think it sort of sparked things to come. Second period is when the game got a little bit more interesting. Utah looked like they were sort of tilting things in their favor before the Senators got a goal on a little shorthanded break. Artem Zub sort of fans on a clearance. Shane Pinto skates pretty much into it and feeds Ridley Gregg on sort of a brief 2-on-0, and Ridley Gregg scores against Utah for the second time this year. That lead only lasted a minute and a half because Utah, not too dissimilar from the fluke goal the Senators won the game against the Leafs with last night. Utah sort of just tries to throw a pass across the slot. Claude Giroux with a good stick redirects the puck right into Ridley Gregg, and it goes off his hip and into the net. And that was how the second period would finish, with a 1-1 score. Carboni, any thoughts on either of those two goals?
Well, I mean, first of all, the penalty kill goal, I mean, that was impressive. Shane Pinto picked the puck off off a terrible pass from Schmaltz over to Keller. He picks it up, slides it over to Greg. 1-0 hockey game. That's huge, especially after the entire period they were being outplayed and, taking puck over the glass penalties. The second goal of the period by Keller, yeah, bit of a flimsy goal. Nothing you could really do. Merilainen was playing absolutely incredible that whole period. He was saving their butts there. There's so many chances for Utah to get a couple goals, but Merilainen kept them in the game. And, the Sens, even after having like a really bad period, they managed to hold out with a 1-1 score heading into a massive third period. They said it on the broadcast. They have 20 minutes at home, 6-minute shifts for everybody. Can you guys do it? And the Sens were looking to, obviously take over that game in the third period. But yeah, incredible stuff from Merilainen in the second period. And yeah, the Sens are very lucky to end the period with a 1-1 tie after a horrific period.
Yeah, pretty much. The second period was not great for the Senators. Again, it's more like that was really the point where you could tell that they were on the second half of a back-to-back. But I like that little part you threw in, that Mike Johnson pointed out on the broadcast. Look, when you're getting into the 20 minutes, second half back-to-back, 10 games in 16 days, like, it's high stakes type of stuff. You're in really a big race here. Every point counts. And 6-minute shifts for everybody. It's like a great line from Mike Johnson, because it just really narrows things down and like it really just scopes in on how important like every shift was in that period. And the Senators really rose to the occasion. I thought in the third period, Claude Giroux breaks the tie just 7 minutes into the third period. Tim Stützle, as he so often does, corrals the puck so well in the offensive zone. Takes it with his skate, feeds Claude Giroux, who undresses Karel Vejmelka with a nice backhand. His first goal in 13 games. And then just a few minutes after that, again, it's that line that they formed. They started off with Tkachuk, Stützle, Batherson in this game. They moved to Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux by the end of it. And that would be the line that came through with the third goal, big goal. As Claude Giroux feeds it down low, Tim Stützle is stopped by Vejmelka, but the captain, Brady Tkachuk, scores his first goal, breaking that long pointless drought and making it 3-1. And it was pretty much smooth sailing from there for the Senators. They locked it down, as they so often did, and as they so often have over the last couple months. Do a great job of tying up Utah. Merilainen made a couple of good saves late, and he shut the door. The Senators shut the door, and they get a 3-1 win, and they move into third place in the Atlantic Division. First time in like 7 years I've had to look to the left side of the TV when they bring that graphic up on TSN. So, Carboni, any thoughts on the third, on those goals, and just the game overall for the Senators?
Yeah, the stars were shining bright in the third. Claude Giroux, 14 games without a goal. That's a big one there to break the 1-1 tie and get his team ahead with 12 minutes to go. Then later, the whole past 10 games, whole week, Sens got shut out by the Rangers. They got shut out by the Bruins. Brady Tkachuk, goalless in 10 games as their team's captain. A lot of talk about him. What does he do? He gets a juicy rebound off Giroux's shot, and he gets his first goal in 10 games. Huge relief off his shoulders. And yeah, the Sens coasted to a 3-1 win. Very impressive, especially after a second half of back-to-back, after an emotional game against, the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Battle of Ontario. So it was great for Ottawa to get Giroux to score, get the monkey off his back, and same with Brady Tkachuk as well. So now we have a little bit of rest before they play the Eastern Conference supposed winners that we could be potentially seeing, the Washington Capitals. Yep. So that will be a big test, but very good way to end the week for the Ottawa Senators, and winning 3-1, winning back-to-back games for the second week in a row.
Yeah, third week in a row they've done it. It's
third week.
Three weekends straight they've won Saturday, Sunday. Like really high character stuff from the Sens in that regard. And look, Giroux and Kachuk, they've had their fair share of chances over the last 11 games. It's not like they played like very poorly in that stretch. The Senators have had a good record in that stretch without those two guys scoring, but the chances have been there and they just haven't cashed. So it was good, and I'm not going to be shocked at all if either of them starts to really heat up now, because honestly, sometimes it just takes a goal to get things moving in the right direction. I think there's a strong chance that it's going to be a case of that with the Senators. So great to see. Those are two guys they need scoring, and I would imagine Coach Travis Green's going to be turning back to that line with Kachuk, Stützle, and Giroux, and just sort of letting the rest of them figure it out. As we transition into just more of our general topic for tonight, we're going to talk a lot about the Sens team defense, and specifically, I know, Anthony, you want to talk a bit about Jake Sanderson and how great he's been recently. Before we do that, I just want to remind you all to check out our Game Over Patreon page, because you could be looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada. So if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, go ahead and go over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. So if you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available right now, so don't miss out. And if you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite app, and share our work on social media. That's patreon.com/thegameovernetwork for all your tantalizing goodies. All right, Anthony, you want to talk a bit about Jake Sanderson. What a rock star game he had again tonight. He was so good against Austin Matthews last night. Followed it up against the sort of Terror Twins there with Cooley and Keller in Arizona. Didn't have much of a look in tonight. What stood out to you about Jake Sanderson tonight?
Well, for me, his defensive ability was, over these past 2 games has been impressive. Him skating up the ice with the puck as well in the third period. Mike Johnson pointed out he just went right by everybody. His smooth skating, him getting the assist the other night against Stützle, and tonight just playing defensively is what Ottawa needs. They've only gotten scored on twice in 2 games, which is impressive. So I'm really liking Sanderson's game, especially on that power play unit too. I know they've only been 1 for 15, but in their last 15 power plays, but the puck movement from Sanderson and the recovery process of him getting the puck back has been very nice to watch, and a huge bright spot on that defensive core of the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the power play, and the power play has gone extremely cold with the offense, and obviously those two things go hand in hand, but I don't think it's on Jake Sanderson.
No,
it
not at
doesn't
all.
really help that he's been, for the most part, out there with like 4 guys that are struggling to score right now. So hopefully as things start to get going, Stützle has been a lot better this week. Kachuk and Giroux getting their goals tonight. If Batherson can get one soon, and that would maybe help everybody out. But the Senators, I think, in my opinion, they look their best when Jake Sanderson's their best player, and he's had his ups and downs this year as he still adjusts to being like a number 1 defenseman. He eats some of the hardest matchups in the league.
Like last night.
Yeah, exactly. He had to go against Austin Matthews all night last night, and he's doing that every time. The one thing that has helped him so much is how good Artem Zub has been since he's come back. Everybody sort of forgets that from sort of the end of October pretty much until the end of December, Zub did not play any games in that stretch. And since he's come back and, sort of refound that chemistry with Sanderson, the Senators really, for the first time in a long time, have a true shutdown defensive pairing. They showed it on the broadcast on TSN tonight a few times. That pairing now has, per 60 minutes, the lowest amount of expected goals conceded in the NHL.
Best defensive pair in the league right now.
Yeah, you can certainly make that argument. The stats certainly back that up right now. So, Sanderson really continues to be, in that regard, the straw that stirs the Senators' drink. Like, he's just, when he's on, the team is just so much better. And it's, to me, like, I'm sure you might have some thoughts on it too, just what you saw tonight. Like the last 2 nights, especially though, the way that the Senators defense have like worked with their forwards just to sort of as 5-man units really lock teams out. Like it's been so impressive. They had a huge off night with that in New York earlier this week, and then the game against Boston where they got shut out 2-0. That wasn't on the defense at all. But they're just really defending impressively. Like, does that sort of stand out to you as well?
Yeah, when they play as a 5-man unit, like you said, they are clicking. And as you saw tonight, it worked extremely well for them. Like I said, Jake Sanderson has been playing amazing. And like you said, when they play as a 5-man unit, they play their best hockey. And like as we saw with the Rangers game, they weren't really doing that. There was a bit of a disconnect. Same with the Bruins, and that's why they didn't score. When they connect with their defense, that's when they started scoring goals. They got 2 against the Leafs, and they got 3 tonight, only conceding 2 all weekend. So like you said, playing as a 5-man unit is something that the Sens should continue to obviously play as a 5-man unit, and that is exactly where they will get their results is if they play a 5-man unit.
Yeah, 100%. And like again, it's crazy the swing that they've had from previous years to this one, and just how good they've been defensively this year. And Travis Green deserves, like I've pretty much all my streams I've tried to say, like Travis Green deserves a lot of credit for how he's transformed this team defensively. How good they've been. Shane Pinto especially got the primary matchups against Matthews at center last night. Cooley and Keller tonight, like again, also like really impressive, and good for him also finding ways to chip in offensively like he did. And final point on the defense, like I feel bad because Travis Hamonic came back this weekend, played both games, and Travis Hamonic, maybe rightfully got a lot of the blame for the way Sanderson's play was sort of really up and down throughout I'd say November and December. But he's come back. He's had to play probably more minutes than we're comfortable with Nick Jensen being out. But I'm so interested to see what's going to happen, say, in a week when Nick Jensen's back in the lineup. Because I'd have a really hard time right now taking Nicholas Matenpalo out of the lineup because he's seemingly done everything they've asked of him since he was recalled from Belleville. But, something's got to give on that blue line. They're going to have to send somebody down. So I'm curious to see who that is. Any last thoughts on sort of the defense and anybody else that stuck out to you tonight?
Well, no one else really stuck out to me specifically, but as for the defense, if they continue to play like they played the last 2 nights, there's no doubt these guys can make the playoffs. I know it's a pretty intense race going on right now for the wild card, but if the Senators can continue to win games like this and win those gutsy games like we just saw tonight, there's no doubt that they have a good shot at making the playoffs for the first time since 2017. So it's been 8 years. So this one, I think so far has been the best Ottawa Sens team I've seen since they went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like I said, if they continue to play the way they've been playing the past 2 games and win these gutsy performances like we just saw, there's no doubt that they can make the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, and it's really interesting just seeing how I'd say out of that group of teams chasing, like we're gonna talk a bit about the playoff picture now, but out of the teams chasing, they're for sure the best defensive team of that group. So it's if they can get the goals, like I'm fully confident that they can pull away, but we'll see.
Mind you, they're also doing this without their starting goaltender, Linus Ullmark. So.
Exactly, and his return is looming, and possibly on Thursday they keep saying. We're going to talk a bit about the playoff race, but I just want to remind everyone watching that if you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this, I'm guessing. So make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, make sure to check the notification bell so you're alerted when we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review if you've got the time. If you really like us, make sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find Game Over Network on Blue Sky now at thegameovernetwork.com or on TikTok and Twitter at GameOverNHL and on Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn at Game Over Network. You can also find us over at GameOverNetwork.com where you can sign up for our upcoming newsletter. So that's exciting. That's coming real soon. All right, Anthony, we know anybody that follows you, you're a Habs guy.
Yep.
Obviously one of the teams the Senators are competing with. The Rangers are in that mix now, although huge result today from the point of view of everybody else in that chasing pack, with the Rangers getting beat with 15 seconds to go by Colorado today. I guess I want to sort of open it up to you, and I've been long time, pretty much this entire season, of the opinion that I think of that chasing group that sort of emerged: the Senators, the Canadiens, the Blue Jackets, the Penguins, the Rangers. The Red Wings are kind of trying to hang around in there. Same with the Flyers, but like both sort of struggling. I think the Senators are the best team in that pack. I think the defense and the goaltending that the Senators have. I think the Rangers have the best goaltending of that group, but I think specifically the defense and the goaltending, the Senators have really shown this season that they've got that ability, and I don't think anybody else in that pack does. I think the offense is a huge concern for the Senators, and I think they've got to address it via a trade or something soon, but I think the defense is like the hardest thing to get right. And the Senators, I think, statistically have done a better job of that. Do you share that same assessment? Do you think the Senators are the best team in that group and have maybe underperformed, and that's why they're still sort of in it? Or do you think there's some issues that still stand out to you?
Well, if you consider Tampa part of that group, considering that they are now second in the wild card, no,
Fair.
I do not think the Senators are the best team. If I'm including Tampa Bay, the Lightning, obviously, we know their history. They've been close to making playoffs, like getting far in the playoffs. They did go on two cup runs. They lost in the final, and then they got bounced in the first round by the Leafs, and they got bounced in the first round by the Florida Panthers. The window's closing, so I think they, for sure, I mean, with a plus 35 goal differential on the season, with a couple games in hand on the Bruins, I still feel like Tampa could, be the best team in that race if you consider them part of the race. Comparing the other teams, like, I'll say this right now, the Boston Bruins are frauds. They are a fraud team. They are not a good team. I can't name a single forward in that bottom six. They are not a good team. They have a minus 20 goal differential. That's the worst out of any team in this entire race. It's unbelievable how they're still in this race with 51 games played. But yeah, for the Sens, you did mention that the defense is, probably the best out of that group. I would say, yeah, probably over Boston for sure. Columbus, maybe, the Canadiens for sure, Detroit as well. So yeah, the defense is really rocking for Ottawa right now, especially defensively. The offense, like you said, is a bit of a struggle. It's a bit of a struggle, but like you said, they can address that at the deadline. But it's also, they've got the tools to do it. Let's not forget, Stützle was almost at a point per game last year. Brady Tkachuk can also pot in like 30 goals. Giroux can get 20. Pinto, like, they've got guys that can score. So if these guys can find their game, no doubt they'll they have a chance to make playoffs. But like you said, they can address it at the deadline. But I feel like they already have the tools to put together a really powerful offense. Even last year, they had like it was a top 10 power play for like a team that was retooling or rebuilding. They had a really good power play. So if these guys on the offense can just start getting their goals together, no, for sure, they're one of the best teams in that race.
Yeah, I've looked at it, I think, now for the better part of the Senators really started to turn things around right at the end of November. And that's when they sort of made the switch from team that was sort of up and down between 500 to now a team that's, very much in this race and, trying to lead the charge in this race for playoff spots. And so I've been of the opinion now, as they've made this switch, that I just think the Senators, to me, and especially from puck drop this season, the underlying numbers have been pretty good all season. And even though they were sort of floundering in October and November, couldn't really break through until December. I've been of the opinion that the Senators, to me, seem just more like a good team that's played down and maybe underperformed compared to what they could be. I think, they're third in the division right now, but I think there's been quite a few moments this season where they definitely could have and should have picked up more points. So to me, they've always seemed like of the teams that are in the race, the team that's sort of played down. They're like the sleeping giant, sort of like not how the Rangers are. That's like a whole other degree of, underperforming your expectations.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas I think if I look at Columbus, to a degree, Montreal, they seem like teams that are more middling but have really exceeded expectations, and then therefore like there's always going to be the questions about sustainability. I don't know, do you get like a similar read to me on that, or do you have like a different thought?
Oh, for sure. The Rangers for sure are definitely underperforming, and I mean, obviously they've been like they went to the Eastern Conference Final 2 out of 3 seasons, so they're just having a down year. They got Shesterkin back. They are on a bit of a heater, but tough loss, like you said, or the Avalanche last minute, a couple seconds left in the game. Montreal and Columbus as well. In the podcast predictions for the AJ Sports podcast, which we'll plug after. We did predict, well, me and my partner Justin did predict that they would finish. I think I had them last, and he had them seventh. They're in a wild card race, and I think they are fifth, fourth. I think they're fourth in their division right now. So definitely exceeding expectations. Montreal as well. They are exceeding my expectations. They went on a bit of a heater. I think when
We should be. Yeah, we are.
Are we back on here?
Looks like it.
Okay, I think we're back. All right, sorry folks about
We should
that.
be. Yeah, we are.
All right, we just had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Um, Anthony, you were giving some thoughts on just the wild card, like sort of how I was saying the Senators have sort of maybe underperformed versus where now you were giving a varying viewpoint on that. Sorry that I cut you off there.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, like you said, or like I said, yeah, they have been underperforming as a team overall. Like I feel like they could be better, like you said, picking up more points in this division, especially because how tough the Atlantic division is. It's unbelievable. But yeah, the Sens definitely, are like a better team. There was like that talk of that triangle of Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa. It's now become Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit.
Yeah.
And out of those teams, Ottawa has been more consistent with their games, especially this past weekend, especially these past 3 weekends now. So for sure, I feel like they are a team that have the tools to make playoffs. They've just been underperforming and went on a couple streaks. If they can fix that, they could like potentially and for surely secure one of those wildcard spots for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting point you make, and I guess I haven't really thought about it like that yet. That Montreal is really the third team in that, and Buffalo is completely bottomed out. Like it's unbelievable that the Sabres really haven't made that step before.
they might have to, they might have to rebuild again.
It's unbelievable, right? I can't sometimes I think like about how hard the last like number of years as a Senators fan has been with all this, but it's really nothing compared to what the Sabres are going through. They're still sitting on they're 8 games under 500 right now, and in
That's
year
terrible.
13 without the playoffs. Like it's
They're not making it. They're not making
No,
it.
and they're
And
not
it's been
making it
like
this
it's
year
been like
either.
13 years. 13 years Sabres fans have been suffering. Oh,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And like you mentioned sort of that trend. I'd say at this point I even probably have the Habs ahead of Detroit. I just Detroit to
We'll
me
go through them.
just
Let's go through the teams. What do you think? Who do you think gets those last 2 wildcard spots? You think?
like I mean to me it just depends at how like now that like seemingly for now that third spot in the Atlantic is at play. It just really depends how that shakes up. Like I still think Tampa probably gets that spot, and then I think in terms of the wild card spots, I'd lean right now Senators and Rangers. I think the Rangers have they've really turned it up as of late, and I think that they're I maybe it's the recency bias of the fact that they smoked the Senators earlier this week, but like they still look like they have that ability to wake up inside them and maybe put together some results down the stretch here. And to their credit, Chris Drury's done like a good job mid-season, sort of helping get them back on track. But I really I think the Senators are going to get in there. I said it at the beginning of the season. I still think they are. I still like the process. Who do you have? Do you have Ottawa in there?
Okay, well, the thing is, it's tough because they are going on a nice break in February too. It is only like late January, so it's a bit tough.
If I'm looking at the race right now, I have Buffalo, Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's going to do a fire sale. I think they're out.
Yeah.
Islanders, to me, they're not good enough. Sorokin's been very inconsistent. The Flyers and Red Wings, I feel, also are not good enough. The goaltending is not gonna be it for them. The Rangers, a team that is obviously not playing to their standard, I feel will definitely secure that first wild card spot and make playoffs. And they'll be a team to watch out for. Watch out, Maple Leafs, because you guys right now, if the Rangers take the first wild card, you're playing them, and you have to face off against playoff Igor.
Yeah,
So
nobody wants to do that, right? I think they're like if I were the teams around there, I wouldn't want to face the Sens or the Rangers in the playoffs. Like the Rangers because of Shesterkin, and the Senators just because like they have that defense factor, and I think like that's a big thing. And like I said, I think it's going to help the Ottawa as we get down the stretch here. The other reason I have Ottawa in there is a strength of schedule thing. I don't know if this is really known outside the Ottawa market. It's something that we talk about on the show a lot. Senators have 8 of their last 9 games at home. So the general feeling
huge.
around the marketplace is if they get to late March and they're in the race, they really control their own destiny at that point. So it's it's going to be big. There's still a couple more games against Montreal this year to come too. Still a couple more against the Rangers. So
Looking forward to those.
yeah, so those results are really gonna determine who finishes where. Just as we're closing up here, coming to the end of the show. Just wanted to look at some of the comments. See, we got Ty Smith saying, well, I can't really repeat what Ty said, but he said Utah got sensed. Yeah, they definitely did. I think they got sensed for sure. It came out, played a pretty good game, but got sensed a little bit. Justin in the chat, Sens actually scored more than 2 goals. I know. I'm just as surprised, Justin. It's a bit of a rarity these days, the Senators to get more than a couple of goals, but hopefully they've got a couple more to come. Justin also predicting a 5-1 Washington victory on Thursday.
Oh,
I'm gonna assume
look
Justin's
at that.
yeah. I'm gonna assume Justin's not watched that much Senators hockey this year. It's been I'd be surprised if they got smoked 5-1 in that one. I think it'll be a good one. The last one was last week when they played Washington here, and it was 0-0, and the game finished in overtime. So I'm expecting something a little bit similar to that, but we'll see. Last ad read I want to do. Just want to remind you all once again to shift into Hyperdrive Hockey. It's our main title sponsor here on Game Over, because you can have some fun with your new source, biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Combines top tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and fun with things that'll drive deep debate, which is great too. So make sure you check it out. It's hosted by Max Van Oot, Daphne Melbuff, and Kevin Larmé every Monday and Thursday for your fill in the hockey world. You can watch on YouTube on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. You can also check it out on our website, thegameovernetwork.com. That's all going to be linked down below. As we head out here, Anthony, want to give you a second just to let the viewers know where they can find you and what you got going on right now. Let them know.
Yeah, so you can follow me on the AJ Sports Podcast we have on Twitter. That's our YouTube channel where we post all of our podcasts. You can follow my personal Twitter at Anthony Carboni and my podcast partner at Justin Vilche as well. We will both be on Twitter. And you can also look at my website. I do write NHL articles on the hottest topics, NHLHotTopics.com, where I discuss all the NHL hot topics and write articles about them. But Nick, I appreciate you having me on. This was very nice to talk about a team maybe I don't really support, but it was nice to break down the game, and I had a good time watching the game downstairs. So
yeah,
really
well, we
appreciate you having me on.
we appreciate you giving us some time, and look, it's fun watching the Sens on a Sunday. What else you got going on? I know most people are watching the football right now, but no, it's a good way to just book up the weekend. Is 3 straight Senators victories on Sundays for us over here in Ottawa, so it feels good. I'll make sure to link your stuff down below for the people to check you out.
Sounds good.
That's going to do it for us on Game Over Ottawa, January 26th edition. Senators, big 3-1 win over Utah. They're now 3rd in the Atlantic Division. They'll have a few days off in the interim, and they'll be playing Washington on Thursday, and Game Over will have you guys covered for that. So make sure to return and check that out. All right. Take care, everybody. From Nick and Anthony, it's been